Hello, everyone. It's Paul at the Garland County Library, and I'm here once again with one of our regular guests, Mary Zunick, who is the Hot Springs Cultural Affairs Manager. And this is the seventh or eighth episode in our ongoing series, the Gallery Walk Talk, where we're representing local artists who are relevant here in the Hot Springs art scene. And Mary interviews them and showcases some of their work and talks about all the behind the scenes element. And we were just talking about earlier how it's been kind of great to be able to not only go live with these, but have a recording so people can tune in later and the work is kind of archived for the future.
Right, absolutely. That's going to be just a treasure for a few generations from now, Paul. Our children and grandchildren will be looking back at what Grandma was doing, in 2021. But
Yes.
thanks so much for doing this because it is a valuable resource. And it's great to get to highlight our arts community and the many different, very talented individuals that we have living and working here in Hot Springs. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
It's great to host you and work with you. And tonight you have a special guest who's very impressive, Jen Gerber, Hot Springs Documentary Film Festival, but I'm going to let you give a more formal
Right.
introduction here in a moment. But if anyone watching live has any questions or comments for Mary or our special guests, Jennifer Gerber, please don't hesitate to comment those live. But for now, I'm tuning it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Paul. Usually I'm on talking about some of our visual artists here in Hot Springs and all about gallery walk. Well, this is one of those months where the first Wednesday of the month falls after the first Friday. So gallery walk actually happened last Friday and the galleries were open. We had a good turnout. We even have a brand new gallery in Hot Springs on Broadway. So please stop by and check out Esther's. Lots of local artist artwork that's never seen anywhere else in Hot Springs. Some familiar names of art you'll recognize when you go in there. But remember to go out in galleries. If you miss a gallery walk, it's okay. You can still go back the rest of the month and see the fantastic exhibits that they have there. And also in Hot Springs, since we last visited, let's see, there was Blues Festival, Jazz Festival, Valley of the Vapors Music Festival. So there's been some incredible music happening in Hot Springs. But tonight we're going to talk about their Hot Springs treasure and a valuable part of our arts community here. It's the Documentary Film Festival. This is the 30th anniversary of the Hot Springs Documentary Film Festival, which makes it the oldest all documentary film festival in North America. And I looked it up one time, and I think it's the second oldest in the entire world. And the festival, not only is it the oldest, it's also qualifying event for filmmakers competing for the Academy Awards in Best Documentary Short Subject, which is quite a feat for us at the film festival. Its roots all the way back early 90s when Cy Gomberg, who was head of the documentary branch of the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences, visited Hot Springs. He loved the city and encouraged the idea of a documentary film festival. So in 1992, we had a thriving arts community then as well. A small group of arts enthusiasts in Hot Springs initiated the very first Hot Springs Documentary Film Festival. A special attraction that year was the award-winning actor James Whitmore. 10 documentary films that had been nominated for Academy Awards were shown that year. And then in 1993, the number of entries quadrupled, with 44 documentary films being screened. Actor James Earl Jones was featured that year at a fundraising gala. And, it's just taken off since then. There's been some tremendous growth and accolades for the festival. In 1996, the Malco, well, that's where we started out to, was at the Malco. The film festival began there. And in 1996 became the permanent home when the Documentary Film Festival purchased the building, and it remained there until I think 2013. And after that, it moved down to, it's been the Arlington the past several years. We've had some incredible special guests over the years: Ed Asner, Barry Bostwick, Bo Bridges, Dr. Jocelyn Elders, Allen Ginsberg, Lou Gossett Jr., Tess Harper, George Takei. I mean, some incredibly talented people. And I'm so excited to talk with Jen and find out who's going to be coming this year and find out all about the festival that begins on Friday. So next, we're going to have joining us to tell us all about the festival and all about herself also, because the executive director of the Hot Springs Documentary Film Festival is Jennifer Gerber. But not only is she responsible for all facets of the festival, everything from the screening committee to where all of the events are happening, it all goes through Jen, or begins with Jen, and an incredible board of directors of many talented people dedicating their services to the Documentary Film Festival to make it happen. But Jen certainly leads all of the staff and pulls an incredible festival together each year. Jen is a native of Arkansas, and she's a filmmaker in her own right. She's actually a native of Hot Springs. She built her film career in Chicago before completing an MFA in writing and directing at Columbia University in New York. Her debut feature, The Revival, received theatrical run in Los Angeles as well as digital distribution on major platforms. The film received a jury special mention at New Fest for outstanding performances, and The Hollywood Reporter called the film riveting. Jen freelanced for over a decade as a writer, director, and first assistant director for a variety of commercial production companies in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. As a first assistant director, Jen worked with James Franco on The Sound and the Fury and Black Dog, Red Dog, starring Whoopi Goldberg, Olivia Wilde, and Chloe Sevigny. Jennifer is the executive director of the film festival here in Hot Springs and is in development with her next directing projects, including Has Been Beauty Queen, a semi-autobiographical story, and Shelter, starring Academy Award winner Melissa Leo, Zazie Betts, and David Radai. I think I mispronounced that. If so, I do apologize. But please join me, Jen. There's Jen. Thank you so much. I should have gotten notes on correct pronunciations. I'm so sorry, but I can get your name right. Thanks for joining me, Jen Gerber.
You did great. There's a lot of names in there. Thank you. Thanks so much.
I was rolling along so good without my glasses on even. The names. So thank you for joining me, because I know you're just a little bit busy. I think where are you right now, so that we know what's going on behind you?
Yes, there's a flurry of activity behind me. I'm actually at our headquarters for the festival. It's a new venue that we'll be using as our main pass pickup, VIP lounge, and merch store. So our merch store is coming to life behind me, and we've been really loving having this space. It's really close to the Malco. It's, you basically can see the Malco from the front door, and we think it's going to be a great place for our attendees to gather, think about what they're going to go see next, grab a little drink, and then head to the movies.
Excellent. Well, before we talk about the film festival, though, I want to find out more about Jen Gerber, the filmmaker. When did you make your first film?
That's a great question. Well, getting to directing actually took a little bit, because I found film through acting. I was actually a theater major in college. I was at Henderson for 1.5 semesters and in their theater department, and I really loved acting. I loved storytelling. I loved collaborative storytelling, most importantly. But I kept finding myself wanting to tell everyone else what to do. I wasn't a very good actor. I was more like wanting to shape it. I could feel that instinct. And soon after, I was cast in a country music video and found my way onto my first set. And when I grew up in Hot Springs, there wasn't near the resources that are now for people like me that would have maybe been curious about filmmaking. Now there's actually, the schools have many programs, like the arts. I run a film program there. They have plenty of programs where now if you're curious, you can try it. But when I was growing up, those weren't there. And so I had to kind of find it in a sort of random way. But so I was cast in this music video and found my way to my first set, and I was in awe. And I think most filmmakers, I think when you find your way to the first set, you're like, oh, what's this? I want to know everything about it. I want to do this. And I say to my students all the time, I was bit by the bug, and there's no cure. There's no cure for that disease, which is the desire to be making movies. So shortly when I was on that set, I asked someone on the crew, I was like, how did you learn how to do this? And they said, well, a bunch of us went to this school in Chicago. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so I literally just I had no money to my name. I just packed up my car and drove to Chicago, and I enrolled in school. And suddenly I was a film student. And so, it takes a little bit to get to where you're making your first film in film school. You have to learn how to write. You have to learn what it takes to make a movie. But pretty quickly after, I was making my first film. And very shortly after, that film was screening in festivals. I was like, okay, this is great. I'm going to keep doing this. So while I was in school, I also worked on a lot of sets. I think anything I do, I throw myself into 100,000%. And so I was working and crewing and writing and doing all that stuff. So I just got a lot of quick experience in Chicago, and from there just kept going. I really haven't stopped ever since.
What was your first film that you made that you were really proud of? That it was that you didn't look at and see all of the flaws. You went, okay, I can do this.
Well, every filmmaker sees all their flaws and hope no one else does. But the first film, I think that, and to this day, I think my first film is actually screened the most festivals. It's a film called Cut and Dry, and it's a profile of a housewife, and maybe it expresses her frustrations, and it's all done through sound design, where her daily chores create a rhythmic score of her day. And it's actually, I'm really proud of it still. It's it has its own little life, but because I came at film through music. I was a musician, and so my first script through that film was actually I scored it with the sound effects, and then translated that into the script and the shot list. And so I still am really proud of that film. It was a really unusual film to make, and it's screened everywhere. Because it's only 2 minutes, so it's easy to program a little short film like that. And I shot it on film. It was shot on 16 millimeter. When we were cutting it with a razor blade and tape, it was that kind of movie. Yeah, I guess on metal. but yeah, it did really well, and that gave me, I think, the confidence to say, okay, I want to keep doing this. This short little 2-minute movie has provided a foundation for me to keep going.
And I know, there are classes and people go to school for this, but there are a lot of people out there like me and other people who will watch this. How does one go from concept to having a film show on the big screen at our festival or any other festivals? Could you just walk us through kind of the cliff notes of it?
Yes. Well, if you're interested, I would say take one of our classes. We hosted the documentary boot camp this year with the Documentary Film Festival, and all those films will be premiering at the festival on October 16th. And then I also run the film program at Low Key Arts, where every student comes in, they have an idea. We take them all the way, it's inception to projection, from their beginning of their idea to the screen. And so, but ultimately, there's a lot that goes into making a movie. Initially the idea is what you need. You need something to start with, but it's a collaborative process. Anytime I've made a movie, it's with a lot of people. It's you start by just telling your story and seeing how that sticks. And do people understand the story? Are they engaged? That's the practice. I always think that's the practice screening of does the story translate when I'm talking about it? And then from there, you write it, you begin to workshop it, you cast it, you find the casting crew, you make your schedule, you go shoot it. And then there's always the very long process of editing. They always say you write a film 3 times. You write it when you write the script, you write it when you shoot it, and you write it when you edit it, because it's always evolving through every phase of the filmmaking process. And it's really, in my mind, it's never done until it's on a screen in front of an audience. And then sometimes you watch it and you say, oh, actually, maybe I need that beat to land a little longer. And sometimes you still go back and switch it up a little bit. But for the most part, it's a process of revising until it's totally done.
And what film are you working on now, and where are you in process?
Yeah, so it's been kind of a wild journey. So I grew up here in Hot Springs and have been gone for almost 17 years. And I had studied writing and directing at Columbia, and they're so focused on personal stories. What's the story you can tell that nobody else can tell? And up until that point, I wasn't really telling things that were focused on Arkansas or focused on my life here. But there, I realized that I was the only Southerner in my class there, and I definitely one of the few people from Arkansas that's ever been in their program. So I had stories that nobody else could tell. And so I started really writing about Arkansas. And when I graduated, I decided to move home to make this movie. And I'm still working on getting this movie made, but it's closer than ever. It's called Has Been Beauty Queen, and it's loosely based on my experiences growing up here in Hot Springs as a teenage beauty queen with a mother who struggled with bipolar diagnosis. And it's definitely a mother-daughter coming-of-age story, and we've been working on it for many, many years now. But it's starting to start to come to life a little bit. So, you know, I always say until there's like money in the bank and contracts that, you know, it's not 100%, but it's starting to get a little closer to that, where I feel confident that this movie will reach the big screen eventually.
What is the most difficult step in there? Is it coming up with the idea or getting the money, or?
Yeah, all of it is unbelievably challenging. I think you have to have a great script in order to attract financing and attract collaborators and actors. And so certainly there's a very rigorous process of getting your script to that phase. And then I feel like my script is there now. We've been fortunate to win several awards for our script. We've been in many competitions and done very, very well. So we're confident about the screenplay, but now we're in the financing stage of getting people to invest in it. And it's at that point, it's a business model. Why would someone give as much, you know, money to a film? How do they, an independent film that they may or may not see the return, and building that business plan around it. So, you know, from there, I feel like the filmmaking part is what I've been training to do all my life. It's that part that you just have to keep at it, and deal with a lot of no's until you hear the yeses that you need to make the movie come to life.
And I mean, not necessarily your film per se, but just what would the budget be for one of the documentaries that's showing here? And I'm sure there's a wide range, but.
Yeah, our documentaries really have a surprising range. I mean, I think we have films that have been made for, you know, a couple $100s, and then we have films that have been made for millions in the festival. You know, I'm at a point now where the films I'm putting together for myself have a certain level of actors that it requires a certain budget level, you know, a couple $1 million to be able to not only attract that kind of talent, but also support the infrastructure to make the filmmaking experience positive for them. And, you know, a lot of actors on a high level they're not going to do scrappy movies anymore. So it has to be on a certain industry level that they're like, okay, I trust that this is going to be a great film. They have the resources to do it right. I'll sign on. So, you know, the next film I'll make, which I'll be shooting here in Hot Springs, is not as skimpy as all the other films I've done. It'll be a little bit more on that level where it brings in actors and has a bit more of a production budget.
And are there people who can do production for a film here in Hot Springs or in Arkansas?
Well, yes, there are. And that's been the really fun part of it. The film scene in Arkansas is really, really growing. We have really strong tax incentives, and we've had an incredible just recent growth in production. We had, you know, when True Detectives shot their entire season here, we've had quite a few features that are shooting all the time. So the crew base is continuing to grow. And I think that's really exciting. Obviously, programs like at UCA, their film program is constantly producing incredible talent out of that school. And then, you know, I've been really committed even here in Hot Springs to try to train more filmmakers. There's so many people here hungry to tell stories, and they have great stories to tell. So I feel like through that process, I've been teaching those classes now for 7 years, and I'm seeing filmmakers now that are starting to really reach the next level of their professionalism. And I would like them to be on the set too.
Oh, excellent. And now, okay, and I know you work with young filmmakers all the time, but having made films and being at the spot where you are in the production of your next film, what advice would you give to someone who has the goal to be a filmmaker, a young person, an older person, anywhere in their life? What advice would you give?
Yes, that's a really great question. I mean, I could go on forever about that, but I would say probably the most important thing is to have a mentor that can help open doors for you and set you up for success. And then on top of that, I think you have to have tremendous resilience. There is a lot of disappointment in this industry. You're going to hear no 1,000 times and yes once a year. And so, but those yeses, that's the only yes you need to get your film or get your project to the next level. But there's a lot of, I don't want to say rejection. There's just a lot of competition. And so you have to be willing to suffer through that frustration or some dark days of just like, oh, is this ever going to come together? You know, I've certainly had those days where I'm like, am I ever going to make another movie again? And just believe that you will, because you're not going to stop until you do. And I really think it takes that to get your film made. You have to want it so badly that you cannot do anything but keep working on it.
Well, and it seems like being a filmmaker in any art form, I mean, an artist puts themselves out there and risks being well received or not being well received, or, critiques by people who have no business critiquing. But in other art forms, in many cases, it's a silent putting yourself out there. So filmmakers, you're putting your heart out there on the screen for people to sit and be completely immersed with. So I just have so much admiration for you and for the other filmmakers for doing that. I mean, it takes a tremendous amount of passion, not to mention the business planning and the planning in general and the dedication and organization that it takes to do that. So, okay, now is there anything else you would like to share about Jen Gerber, the filmmaker, before we move on to Jen Gerber about to run the 30th Documentary Film Festival?
Well, I could go on forever, but we're 2 days away from the Documentary Film Festival, and I'm very excited about that.
I'm ready.
Very long, so I'm also thrilled to focus on that as well. But wherever you want to go, I'm ready.
Okay, well, let's pivot on and talk about the Documentary Film Festival. Yes, getting started right away. So when does it start? Where is it? Tell us all about it.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It starts this Friday, October 8th. I can't believe it. It's been, because of COVID last year, we did do our festival last year, but it was different. But in a weird way, I feel like I've been planning this festival for 2 years because I've been thinking about, okay, we'll be back. It's our 30th year. We're going to do things differently. We're going to be back at the Malco. And here it is. It's 2 days away. So it's a little surreal, but I'm very, very excited. So yes, we kick everything off on Friday, October 8th. We'll start with the champagne and popcorn toast at the Malco at our home, at our birthplace theater. We'll cross the street to Horner Hall and we'll see the opening night film, Citizen Ash, about the tennis player Arthur Ashe. And then following the screening, we will have our opening night party, which is a block party on Bridge Street. So if you've been to Bridge Street Live, we're pulling from some of the things that have happened with those events, which has just been incredible. I mean, certainly attending those events is what made me want to do it that way. And the more what I love about our festival, what I think really makes it special beyond just it's a great festival, is that we're in Hot Springs, which is an incredibly special city. And so I'm really excited this year that we're going to get to really explore more of the city, as we are a little more, I don't want to say spread out, but we're in more venues, which I think will allow our guests to come up and down Central, explore the bathhouses, explore our shops and restaurants downtown, and then also get to see some awesome films.
And now, who's our presenting sponsor this year?
Yes, thank you. We are so thrilled to be partnering with Mountain Valley Spring Water, and we both have incredible birthdays to celebrate this year. So while it's our 30th anniversary, they have 150 years to celebrate this year. So our opening night block party is actually in combination with them, and we are so excited. They've been incredible partners, and they really, I feel like, philosophically really match with our festival. They're great storytellers as an organization because they have a great story to tell, and we're excited that they're passionate about investing in Hot Springs, and they're really, this year, they're really focused on showing their appreciation to the city that has given them the water that makes their business. So it's been a great partnership, and we're so thrilled to have them as our presenting sponsor.
Well, excellent. So now opening nights at the Malco, but what are the other locations?
Yeah, so throughout the week, we'll have 2 theaters running simultaneously all throughout the festival. So obviously the Malco is one of our main venues, but we will also be back in our kind of our heart and soul. We've been the last 10 years at the Arlington Hotel. So we'll have our screening set up at the Crystal Ballroom, and things at the Arlington will look quite similar to years past in terms of what the VIP lounge and all that will look like. And then the Malco will be, I wasn't here a whole lot in the years when the festival was at the Malco, so I'm having to pull from the veterans that have been with us for many years to try to replicate what the experience was like then.
And now you mentioned the VIP lounge. Now the VIP, tell us what a VIP pass is and what all you get for a VIP pass and the perks.
Yes. Certainly the best value of the festival is the VIP pass. It's an all-access pass, so it gets you into literally everything. There's nothing that you can't get into unless it's sold out, so reserve your tickets ahead of time. And but what that will get you is all the films, all the parties, and at every venue there's a bar or a lounge where you can access some amenities, whether it's food and drinks and those kinds of things. So it's certainly, we want people to enjoy every minute of the festival and not have to look too far for the things that they need if they're hungry or thirsty. So those things will be available on hand if you're a pass holder. And if you're not, actually all of our venues will be serving and selling those things as well. So even if you're not a pass holder, those options will be available to you.
Excellent. And if someone could only get, can you purchase, what different types of tickets are there for the festival?
Yes, great. So another really popular pass is the Film Buff Pass, which is to see every film in the festival, both virtually and in the theaters. It just doesn't include the parties, but it's still a great value because you can kind of rest easy knowing that you can get into the films and plan your schedule and not be too worried about it. And I certainly think because we are, I don't know if I said this yet, but we're screening both in theaters and virtually. And so we're kind of doing a hybrid of what we did last year and what we've done for 29 years before, where you can see films in the theater and virtually. But if you have any of these passes, you can do both. So my vision is you wake up, drink your coffee, watch a movie, get ready, go to the theater, see some more movies, go to some parties and have a great time. And I think if you do that, you could see you could see every film if you really were organized about it.
How many films are there this year?
Yeah, so in total, there's 85 films, including shorts and features. So it's still a really robust program. We did dial it back a little bit this year, mainly because we wanted to create a little more accessibility between the two venues because we knew people were not able to just like turn the corner and go to the next theater. So we want to make it where people could get from one screen to the next. So it's a little more relaxed schedule this year. But I'm curious. I think our audience might actually appreciate that a little bit.
Well, as an audience member, I'm going to say I think that's going to be great because you're right. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have time. I can't go get something to drink because I'm going to miss the beginning, and you don't want to be late. And it just gives you a little bit more time to enjoy everybody that you get to see this year that we didn't get to see last year. All of our film festival friends that come in for the festival. So
exactly, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, you'll have time for lunch, you'll have time for dinner, and then all the things in between.
And now this is like the elephant in the room of every conversation right now. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there. What about COVID?
Let's talk about it. I'm ready. We've been thinking about it a lot. So, when we were even beginning to entertain returning to theaters, COVID is still, been at the center of all of our planning. We want to make sure that it's a safe environment. We want people to come back to the theaters. We want them to enjoy the films on a big screen, but we also want them to feel and be safe in those environments. So we will be requiring proof of vaccination, and you can prove it either through bringing your physical card or if you have a photo of it on your phone, that is completely sufficient. And if you're not vaccinated, you still can attend the festival, but you will need to show proof of a negative test from a lab within the last 48 hours. And so if you have that, you'll be ushered right in, no problem. I'll show you, we'll be using wristbands as a system for it. And if you're vaccinated, or are you attending the festival all week, you'll get a band you can wear all week. So once you've been checked, you're done. You don't have to do it again. So hopefully, I imagine the first couple of days, there'll be more COVID checks in the beginning. And I imagine they'll start to slow down throughout the week once people have kind of, gone through the process.
And I've received so much positive feedback from that of people I've talked to about that they're ready to go back to the theater, but it just makes them feel so much more comfortable that the festival's taking such precautions to make sure that we're safe. And now, theaters are usually, crowded, and the after parties are very crowded. And so how are you addressing that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we have had just an incredible events committee this year that have been working for the last couple months, I think since June, to plan our parties. And we've been really mindful about those events because that's the place. We will be requiring masks in our theaters, but we understand that once you're at a party and eating and drinking, your mask is going to be, not always on. And so we wanted to create a space where that could be safe. And so every venue where we have a party will have an outdoor option or will be entirely outdoors, like our opening night party, which will be, an open air event. And so, that was important, or we'll have a tremendous amount of circulation where it's basically an indoor-outdoor space. So that was something we just had to commit to early on. And I'm so glad we did early on because, in June, when we were starting to make our plans, we thought we were almost out of COVID and then got kind of, thrown a wild card for the rest of the summer.
Delta variant.
But
Yeah.
fortunately, we were already sort of planning for the worst case scenario, so we were ready for that.
And now, kind of while we're talking about logistics a little bit before we hear a lot about the films, okay, can you tell us a little bit about the staff that makes the film festival happen?
I'd love to. We have such an amazing staff, and I wish a lot of them are right here behind me, so they're going to fortunately hear me saying this. Our staff is outstanding, and we have some staff that live locally here in Hot Springs that contribute tremendous amount year round, and then we have some other staff that come in from all around the country that work festivals. That's what they do, and so we have incredibly expert staff. Our production manager, Kay, is just our newest team member. She's in from LA, but she also has worked with Outfest and with New Orleans Film Festival. Cheryl Santa Cruz has been our festival director for 5 years. She's also in from LA and also works Outfest and many other festivals. So having that festival experience is super important because I only know our festival. I don't work for other film festivals. And so, but having someone that's working for festivals year round and also working within the landscape of COVID this year, it's been vital to have people help guide us through our planning to say, here's what other festivals are doing with our COVID checks. Here's how we're handling our, our passes and all these things. So that's super essential to our planning because we can't, there's a lot to know and think about, and having that many experienced team members makes all the difference.
And now we have the staff and the professionals who are coming in from out of town, but we have quite a few volunteers here locally, don't we?
Oh my goodness, we have so many incredible volunteers. The last couple of days, we've been going through our volunteer training, and that's certainly one of the highlights for me is getting to meet and work with our volunteers. You know what? It's really humbling. Like I think about this festival, and I certainly feel responsible and tasked with making sure it's successful. But I don't feel like it belongs to me. Like it belongs to this community, our board, and the massive amount of people who have supported it for 30 years. And when you look to our volunteers, like every time we do our training, we're like, who's been here for 30 years? There's quite a few people. Yeah. And it's really amazing to see. And, our volunteer coordinator, Kim Everhart, has been such a mentor to me. She really helped me, especially my first year. I didn't have a lot of time to kind of get up to speed. And she was right there to say, well, here's how we do this. And I've got you here. And I really have relied on the institutional knowledge of our volunteers that have been with us for so long. So we are so grateful for all that they continue to do for us.
And now, if someone wanted to volunteer still, could they volunteer?
Yes, and we would love you to, because we definitely have plenty of open spots. And so on our website, there's a link to sign up to volunteer. We are requiring that all of our staff and volunteers are vaccinated, so they don't get the option of the negative test, just because they are going to be a little more vulnerable. They're going to be working with the public, and we just don't want to take that risk. So that is a requirement. But after that, yes, sign up and get involved. It's really fun. It's a great way to see behind the scenes and get to have more personal contact with the event. And, in that moment, you get to maybe meet the filmmakers or be more involved. And it's getting to be part of this really amazing event within our community. And I think it feels really good to be part of it and to be part of the team.
Absolutely. I know the volunteers absolutely love being there and being a part of it, being a part of the success. Okay, so did I leave out anything about the logistics of attending, or is there anything else?
I don't think so. I'm trying to say this as many places as I can, that we do encourage everyone to reserve their tickets in advance. We are starting to see films sell out. We've never turned anyone away, and we hope we don't ever have to. But we have a lot of enthusiasm this year. It's a big year. We have incredible films. So if there's a film you really want to see, I encourage you to reserve it, whether you're a pass holder or a ticket holder. Get your ticket early. We're starting to get alerts on our back end like, oh, this is starting to get close. And a lot of films are starting to get close. So we don't want you to miss the films that you're wanting to see. So jump in there and make your reservations as soon as possible.
Okay, well, now let's hear about the films. What can you share with us?
Okay.
Give us what we need, and everybody should get your program. It's in the Springs magazine. You can pick those up all over the place if you prefer something to flip through and write on it, or of course they're all available online. What's the website?
So if you start with our website, hsdfi.org, you'll see a landing page that will give you options from schedules to passes to films. So click on any one of those buttons, they'll take you where you need to go. I certainly like to start with the schedule because I'm a planner. I like to plan my day and say, okay, what am I going to do today, and start to build it that way. But I do encourage, I'm like you, I don't know if I'm alone in this. I like also writing and circling and being able to see it in person. And we're so grateful for the support of the Springs Magazine for publishing our program. So, and those are available all around town. So grab them, they're free. Grab a few for your friends and make your plans for the festival.
Absolutely. Okay, so now let's hear
about. Want to go into some films? Okay.
Yeah, everybody get your pen out.
It's my favorite question of what should I see? And I'm like, okay, what are you into? What do you like? Do you like true crime? Do you like political stuff? Do you like more fun? And so, yeah, I could sit here, Mary, and we could just build our schedules together. If you
okay, that would work. Because I have mine started. I have the big ones reserved, but I've got to fill in the middle. So.
Got a few questions still. Okay. Well, should I go through the PowerPoint, or should we just talk?
That's fine. You can switch it over to the PowerPoint.
Okay. I might switch that for a second, but just for a minute.
Because Paul's in the background and can make all of that.
Got it. He's working the magic. Okay. I'm going to jump because we've kind of covered some of this stuff already. Let's see. I'll go to some of our movies. Here we go. All right. So this is what it looks like to see our landing page. And in this, you'll see that we can see the schedule, the film guide, the passes, and then our virtual festival, because you can watch almost every film from home. And that can be available on your Apple TV or your Roku or just on your phone or laptop. There's a lot of ways to watch our films, and we certainly hope that people watch all the ways. But I know we already talked about this film, but it's worth re-mentioning that our opening night film is the film Citizen Ash. I see this film having a very strong award, being an awards contender this year. I think we can expect to see it in the Oscar nominations this year. So it's certainly on that caliber. Actually, the filmmaker, Sam Pollard, he's also our Career Achievement Award recipient this year. And we also had a film with him last year. If you watched with us virtually, MLK FBI was his film last year. So we're thrilled to have him back. We're thrilled to be recognizing his accomplishments and cannot wait to start our festival with this incredible film. So I think it's going to be,
Will he be in attendance?
So Sam, unfortunately, is not. He does have a co-director, Rex, who will be joining him, who will be representing the film here at our screening. Like I said, this film is like one of the buzzier films in the festival circuit right now. With COVID, we're not, there's a couple more complications with getting guests to town this year, but we will have one of the co-directors, and we'll have some a virtual chat with Sam Pollard that will be available on our platform throughout the entire duration of the festival. So I hope you check it out. I know you'll be impressed with him once you hear about his work and his career path.
And go ahead. Out there, if you're at the pancake shop or you're somewhere else and you see someone with a documentary film festival tag on and it says filmmaker, be sure and say, we're so glad you came to Hot Springs, and just make them feel welcome. I mean, I think that I always hear that filmmakers love coming to Hot Springs because we're friendly.
They really do. And we hear so many stories of just what you're saying, Mary, where our filmmakers are grabbing breakfast at the pancake shop and then they're going to pay and someone's already picked up their tab because they know they're guests of the festival and they want to make sure they feel taken care of. So I think that's one of the things that's made our festival so special, is that we roll out the brightest red carpet ever and make sure that our filmmakers feel really special, and we really take care of them, which I'm so proud of. And they want to keep coming back. We have several alums back with us this year, and we're so thrilled about that.
Well, especially this year. I mean, that someone's going to, Arkansas, we don't always get the best press when it comes to COVID. So it's nice that they're flying from LA and New York and Chicago to come visit us here in Hot Springs. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. But definitely come see Citizen Ash. You won't regret it. It's a film you're going to want to see on the big screen for sure. Yes. Okay, this film I'm so excited about. If you've seen Free Solo, which was a film that won the Oscar in 2018, I think, this is those filmmakers follow-up feature, and these filmmakers, they do an incredible job of capturing stories of how do I say this, of humans accomplishing seemingly impossible tasks. So their film Free Solo was about a man who climbed El Capitan in Yosemite and climbed that mountain without ropes. And then this now is a film about a young soccer team that was trapped in this cave, and it's this international rescue mission, and it will keep you on the edge of your seats. I mean, I remember when it was happening, but I didn't follow all the details. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, even though I knew I had kind of followed the story, but I had missed some of the details. And this film was going to really take you through just the acts of heroism that it took to rescue those boys. And it's absolutely an impactful film, and I think a must see for the big screen. So I watched it on my computer. I can't wait to see it on the big screen because I think it's fit for the big screen. So definitely come out and see that. That's one of our centerpiece films.
Now, what was the title of that one again?
The Rescue.
The Rescue.
Yes.
I'm excited about that one. I still haven't seen Free Solo. It just makes me so nervous. The thought of, even though I know the end, it's still so okay. The Rescue.
And The Rescue feels similar, where it's like, okay, are they gonna do it? Like, you don't know. It's one of the most thrilling films I've seen this year. I think I can say it's the most thrilling film I've seen this year. Regardless of the doc or a scripted film, it is unbelievable. And it really just, I don't know, it sort of shows the resilience of the human spirit, just to all these people that were committed to saving these kids. It's unbelievable. And what they risk their own lives to do it, it's really amazing. So please come see it. You will not regret it. I can guarantee you that. We're so thrilled to be featuring The Neutral Ground as our U.S. centerpiece. This film is really, really special. It's directed by C.J. Hunt, who is a correspondent for The Daily Show. So it kind of has the tone of watching The Daily Show, where they take something kind of complicated, a political issue that deals with Confederate statues, but takes it in a way that, like, almost like the humor disguises all of the information that you're learning. So by the end, you're like, oh, there's so much about our U.S. history I did not realize. And I have to say, of all the films I've seen this year, I think about this film every single day, because there's something about it that I'm like, oh yeah, that film that, like, just in our world, that reminds me of something I learned from this film. So, but it's also, like I said, it's history with a lot of humor, and it's highly entertaining. So we're really, really excited about this film, and we certainly hope that people come out and see it. And it's one of those, like, it'll stick with you for sure. But so I hope you come see it, because it's wonderful. We'll have the filmmakers here too for this film.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Okay, Neutral Ground. Okay, and Closing Night. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we got this film. It's amazing. So if you saw RBG at our festival a couple years ago, this is this directing team's follow-up feature about Julia Childs, the incredible chef. And it is all about her personality, her work, her career, in front of and behind the camera. It is absolutely amazing. You'll definitely leave hungry. But it's a must-see for sure at our festival. So we're excited about it.
Okay.
Right.
Are there any films of local interest? Anything that is usually we have some that are connected with our local community?
We do. I'm going to stop sharing here for a second so I can see your face. Okay. We do. Oh, we have so many. It's a really strong year for Arkansas films, and we're really, really thrilled about that. Okay, this is a fun story. So a couple years ago, we had a filmmaker in attendance with his film Dawns of Disco. And if you saw it, it was about an Italian singer that had been caught lip syncing, and it was this big scandal. Anyway, he was here with his movie, had a great screening, and he went over to the pancake shop and had breakfast and met Janie, who is the caretaker of the infamous Adonis, the one-wing vulture here in Hot Springs. And he was like, I would need to know everything about your story. You're incredible. You're interesting, but I want to know it more. And he has been coming back for the last couple of years filming this film about her, this documentary. So we have the world premiere of his film, and that's on Sunday, I believe at 2:30 on Sunday, October 10th. So I really hope that you come see that. That's one of those that's selling out. If you're interested, get your ticket literally right now, because there's not very many left. And then we're really excited about the film Forever Majestic, which will tell the story of the infamous Majestic Hotel. But what I really love about the film is it also weaves in a lot of history of Hot Springs. And I thought I knew everything about Hot Springs, and there's a lot I didn't know in terms of just some of the more specificities. And there's some really incredible stock footage about, early decades of this town. So it's definitely, I think, a film our audience is going to leave talking about. And obviously it's about a property that is still in our consciousness. I mean, we're still watching that property develop as things are changing and plans are coming together. So it's a very timely, it's an appropriate time to be releasing that film. And we'll also have the world premiere of that film. And then there's many more Arkansas films. We have a good campaign that focuses on the campaign of Clark Tucker. And we have 7 Days, which deals with the opioid addiction and is a really powerful film. And we have quite a few shorts that are screening in our program. And I'm so beyond proud that we're also going to be premiering our first ever inaugural Hot Springs Documentary Boot Camp films. So these are all filmmakers from around the state that spent 10 weeks cultivating their films. And it was a really rigorous process. And they took their films from ideas to completion, and they'll be screening on Saturday, October 16th. I'm so excited for them. I'm so proud of them. They put incredible amount of work into their stories. There's some really personal stories in there that will break your heart. There's some moments that'll make you laugh. And most of them are focused around Hot Springs. So it's definitely, that is a screening to make sure you see, just to celebrate our emerging voices from this area.
And now, when are the boot camp films shown?
They're at 11 a.m. on Saturday, October 16th.
Okay, so wrapping it up.
I think I've got the schedule on my head, but yeah, if I say it wrong, check the website, because I've noticed I've been like, oh wait, yeah.
Okay.
The website's the true source. If I've that's right. Yeah.
Well, and the website's great because, like you said, you can reserve them when you get your ticket. You can reserve them, and that way it's all laid out for you. And when you go back and look at it, it tells you which tickets you've reserved and how many you have reserved for that if you purchase the passes. So.
Exactly, and it'll send you a reminder like, "Hey, your film's coming up. Make sure you do all this stuff to get ready for it." So it's good. It helps keep you on track. For sure.
And now, when people could go to a theater, why would they come to a documentary film festival? What makes the documentary film festival so special?
Oh, I could go on and on about that. I mean, films are made to be watched with people. They're not made to be watched alone. When film began, it was all about the physical, the in-person screenings, right? Like they tell those stories of like the Lumiere brothers in the early days when they would show the arrival of a train, and it was just a shot of a train coming at the camera, but everyone ducked because they were like, oh, it's going to hit me. They didn't understand it. And I really believe that cinema is meant to be watched in the dark, without distractions, and with people sharing in this collective experience. So that beyond, obviously you can see movies in a theater outside of a festival, but what the festival does on top of that is create an even more of an engagement with the stories. The filmmakers, many of the filmmakers are here. You get to hear how they made the film, ask questions about the film. If you get to be with your friends and community members that are also experiencing these stories together. And, the festival is like an ongoing party with a bunch of movies playing. So there's this like moment of like, oh, I'm going to go have a drink. I want to talk about that film because I'm still thinking about it and processing all the things that I just saw and heard. And then I'm going to reset and then go to the next one. And so the festival lets you just dive fully in to all the stories, all the people, all the experiences that we have in store. And so it's, I hear a lot of people say that it's the best 9 days in Hot Springs. And I love that they feel that way, because I feel that way too. And we certainly aim to create that when we make the plans for the festival. We want people to have a lot to do and a lot to be excited about.
And there are a tremendous number of people who like plan their week or their weekend at least and come and stay in Hot Springs from all across the area and outside of the area from other states, and come and stay here and just watch documentary films in Hot Springs.
We did. One of my favorite things, we had a jury member one year who had attended the festival for the first time. She's like, I'm not engaged. I'm not on that path just yet. But she's like, my dream is to throw my bachelorette party at this festival. And I was like, that would be fun. We should do that. So it has that energy about it where it's like a tremendous amount of fun. While the films, depending on the film that you go see, it's Some are just really entertaining. Some are really hard hitting. Regardless, you're going to have your eyes and heart open to something about the world or the people in our world that we just didn't know. So it's certainly, I feel like there's a transformative experience by attending the festival that and I love hearing year after year, there's still films people talk about. And I love that they're like, they stick with you. And I think watching in a theater adds that extra value to it.
Yes, absolutely. And now something that I probably should have asked earlier, but we talked about the films. How did these films get selected?
Oh, yes. They go through a very rigorous process. So we've been planning the program since January, and it takes that long to get the program to where it is today. We start in January when we open submissions, and so our filmmakers openly submit on our platform, Film Freeway, or not our platform, but it's a festival platform. And then we work with a very dedicated screening committee of about 80 people that are trained how to watch films, how to review films. They watch hundreds of films throughout the year. And their top-rated films are then elevated to the programmers. The programmers watch that, which is still hundreds. It's a lot. And then they watch those films and then begin to distill it down to the final program. It's a very, very rigorous process. There are a tremendous amount of films that we love that just don't make the festival, and not because of any reason. Every now and then I'll have a filmmaker ask me, like, why wasn't it accepted? And all I have to just say is, we didn't have space. We loved your movie. There was no... It's hard to pinpoint the exact reason. Ultimately, we end up building a program for our audience. And so we want the films to be something that we think they want to see. So we're always thinking about our audience when we're programming. But there's still, even in that, there's still films where we're like, oh, just if we had one more spot, we'd put this film in, So there's always that the hard day when we have to tell the films that we're not, that aren't going to be able to screen because we love them. It's the hardest day of the year for us.
Well, and it's such an exciting week because you've had all of these people dedicating years of their life to make the film. You've had all of the screening committees spending hours and hours pouring through these films, and then the programming committee. It's truly incredible, the process that has happened to get to Friday night.
It's so rigorous. And every year I'm like, oh, I know, maybe we can do it. Maybe it'll be easier this year. It never is. It never is. It's also very fun. I'm not complaining. I have a dream job. Picking our favorite films is, it's a very, it is, I'm very lucky. But there's still films you love that you're just like, oh my gosh, are we really going to not take that film? It happens every year. Yeah.
Well, and is there anything else that I haven't asked? And if not, we'll move on to some questions because I think there's probably some people.
Yeah, let's do questions. Let's see what everyone else wants to know.
Here comes Paul back.
Here I am.
Great. Hi.
All right. Hey, let me see if I can not cover you up down there at the bottom.
I'm trying to. It's getting darker here. I'm sorry.
Sure.
More.
All right. So, well, first of all, I want to say, this is great, and I love the conversation between the two of you, and I feel like it could lead to a behind-the-scenes documentary about the documentary.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So keep that in mind for the future.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
So in the comments, Miranda says, everything Jen touches is magic.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Miranda.
And then you did, I believe, address this after it was asked, but Julie said, please mention something about streaming capabilities. Did you have anything else to add to that?
Sure. I think it's definitely, I hope that everyone does explore our platform, and because I find it to be very intuitive, and we found a lot of our viewers last year actually were able to very easily set it up on their Apple TV or Roku, and it's really nice to be able to watch the festival from the comfort of your own home. So all but 3 films will be on the virtual platform, so you can see almost everything, and you really could, if you planned your day, you could see it all. Just to clarify how it will work is the film will first have its theatrical screening, and then the next morning will be available on the platform. So, and it will tell you what day it's available. It says it in the image of the photo of the film, and then it's only up for 48 hours. So you have to decide, okay, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to make time. It's not as open-ended as it was last year, but if you're organized about it, you can see every film.
Now, can you see it in the theater and also watch it on the streaming platform?
If you want to, you absolutely can. Yeah, you absolutely can. I love that ambition, Mary. Yeah, but you could if you wanted to. You absolutely could.
Make sure you didn't miss anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I want to go back to that scene. No, yeah, you could.
Great question here. Will there be a chance to watch the documentaries after the festival?
So no, there's not. Once the festival's over and the viewing window has ended for the last day of the festival, that's the end of it for this particular part of the event. We talk about this a lot on our board, and Mary, I don't know if we mentioned you're on our board too as well, but we're always striving to have more year-round events, and we've done a few more this year. We had our Juneteenth screening of Summer Soul, which was absolutely sensational at the farmers market, and then it was I know I love people still talking about that film, and
Wonderful.
it was amazing, and I see that being an awards contender too. I'll be very surprised if that film's not nominated for an Oscar as well. And then we started our new series, Docs on the Dock, this year, where we did a waterfront screening, and people were able to watch literally on the lakefront, from their boats. And that was super, super popular. So we'll continue to do more of those things throughout the year. But the festival that's 9 days, and I certainly hope we don't miss it, because that's really when the heart of everything we've been working towards all year happens.
The two of you talked there towards the end about the selection process, but once you have a final roster, Jen, are you personally able to screen every film that ends up on that roster?
I do. I'm screening it throughout the process, so I don't just wait till the end. I'm watching the films that are in top consideration. I'm always looking at with the screening committee. I'm constantly going back to their database of what are their favorite films, and just looking at their comments. So I'm constantly looking. I'm watching films all year long too. I don't wait till the end, because by the end it's crazy time. We're like confirming the films and we're putting the planning together. So I can't really watch from August on, but all year long I've been watching and following along, and being excited to see what happens. I don't make the programming decisions. I'm certainly contributing to the voice of what I think our audience might like, but for the most part, it's really we hire a team of programmers that make those decisions.
And you said there's hundreds of applicants every year?
Yes, we average about 1,100 submissions a year.
Wow. And what % makes the final cut?
Well, we have 35 features. So what is that math? Yeah, so we have 85 films total. So it's tough to get in. It really is tough to get in.
And now something that I mentioned early on, but I don't know that we went back and covered. How does I mentioned the Oscar, the Oscar short? How does that happen? How would a film go from Hot Springs to getting an Academy Award?
Yeah, and we've seen it happen. So what happens is we are an Oscar qualifying festival for the documentary short category. So the film that wins our best documentary short is eligible to be nominated for an Oscar. There's only 38 festivals that have that accreditation. So there's not very many chances to become nominated for an Oscar. We're one of them. So that film will then get submitted to the Oscars and go through its own process after that. After that, it leaves our hands and goes on its own journey. But we have seen year after year that our films do make it they do win the Oscar very, very, very often. And I think because of that, our shorts programs are really, really strong, because we get some amazing submissions, because those are filmmakers that are seeking that Oscar nomination. And there's not a lot of festivals that can provide it. So our shorts blocks are really popular at our festival.
Wow. That kind of leads into another question. What are some of the notable films of the past that our Friendly Neighborhood Film Festival here has on its resume, those that went on to get the big nominations and awards?
Yes, well, certainly Free Solo is definitely one of them. RBG, we also had. I'm trying to think of more recent. Oh my goodness, I could go back to every year of the Oscars. There's really not a year that we don't have films from our festival that are nominated for an Oscar. Not in my time, I've never seen that. So we have a very strong program that's on that level. So I could go. I mean, Mary, who am I forgetting? There's so many. I'm sorry to put you on the spot too.
Free Solo is fantastic. I mean, that's a perfect example of it right there recently.
Yeah, but it's literally
RBG was one of my favorite ones that I've ever seen. Was the one about Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, also, yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's here every year. There's a handful, and we're so proud of them. We root them on from here in Hot Springs, hoping that they bring home the trophy.
And the thing that I like about the festival too, it's like, I think it's so fun to just go see a documentary that you don't know anything about the subject matter. I mean, you don't know anything about it or have no expectation really. You just walk in and see it.
Yeah.
And it's so educational, and you might be crying or you might be laughing by the time it's over, but you feel something.
Absolutely. Just take a chance. You can't lose. Yeah. You just may not have the, I love that idea. Just like put on a blindfold, walk into the theater and see what's in store for you.
It's a fun idea.
Yeah, I love that.
So you have the experience of directing films yourself and then being in constant communication with all these filmmakers. So do you have an interesting story you're willing to share of an interaction with another director?
That's a great story. Okay, well, there's a million, but I have a really good story that's worth telling about Werner Herzog when he was here. So I don't know who was watching that was here when Werner was here. And he was so amazing because he's such just a compassionate soul and was just like so open to our community and just really wanted to get to know everyone here. It was really amazing. But people were really like coming out and wanting to talk to him all the time. So I was kind of like, okay, trying to keep people from totally hounding him all the time. So on his very last day here, we were waiting outside of the Mountain Valley Visitor Center and someone was going to come pick him up. And this kid came up to him and was like holding his hands kind of like this. And I was like, this guy was probably like, I feel like early 20s. And he was kind of nervous. And I was like, okay, I have to do one more protection for Werner. And he comes up and he was like, hey, can I ask you a question? And I was like, okay. And I thought he was going to ask for his autograph or something like that. And he was like, I'm about to propose to my girlfriend. What should I say? And I was like, I don't think to this day that gentleman knows that he asked Werner Herzog for advice. And he had no idea who he was talking to. And I was like, this is amazing.
Wow.
You can listen to every word he says because it's going to be good. And I wish I could remember. I would feel like I was like so overwhelmed in the moment. I was like texting and trying to get his ride here. And I was like, wait, this thing is happening right here. And they were having this like meaningful moment planning his engagement proposal. And I was like, he'll never know. I don't think he'll ever know. But that's what we asked.
Not just
that's
a
one of my
director.
favorite memories of the festival because like that's what happens here.
Filmmaker and wedding planner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on his resume.
That doesn't ever happen to him either.
Yeah, I just thought it was amazing. I was like, but that is kind of what I think makes our festival special is that at different festivals, I don't think you could ever walk up to Werner Herzog and just ask him a question. Like there's always like so many boundaries between the guests and the audience. At our festival, it's just more relaxed. And I think you can go up and ask the filmmaker a question or the subject of the documentary. We hear so many stories about the subjects of the films that are here for their screenings. And, there's one year we had a gold medal Olympian and he brought his medal and like so many people got to wear the medal and put it on. And like, it's that kind of stuff that happens. That's, back to your question, Mary, like why a festival versus just seeing a movie in the theater. It's like, there's a whole experience with our guests that are here. It's different.
Yeah, I know all of us kind of experience this in different capacities, planning events, but sometimes it's hard to get to experience something when you're running around, like making sure everything's working the right way. But it sounds like you definitely have some like on the ground experiences and get to see a lot of those little moments that the fans and attendees do.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, there's so much always happening. So if you're at the festival, you're going to have some kind of spontaneous, incredible moment. It happens to anyone. I think that's why people like it so much is that they know something spontaneous, unexpected, and meaningful will probably happen when you're at the festival. It's just set up for that, no matter what part of it you're involved with.
That's the perfect thing to end on. Are there more questions?
I said that pitch. I might need to write that down and use it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you sewed it all up right there, Jen.
Yeah. Well, before we go, I'll, of course, as always, give you both an opportunity to cover anything else. So Jen, let's start with you. Remind everyone once again the times and dates and locations, and then anything else you want to share.
Yes, absolutely. So the festival starts this Friday, October 8th, and runs through the 16th. We will be screening films at both the Arlington Hotel and the Malco Theater. And we're at our headquarters, which is right now at 120 Ouachita, which is the former craft beer cellar, which will be our merch store, past pickup. We'll have some happy hours here. So those will be our main three venues. And we'll have parties all over town every single night. There's a party every night. So you have to check out our schedule on our website, hsdfi.org, to see all the things that we have in store.
All right, Mary, you have anything?
No, I'm just ready to go watch film. I'm so excited. It's going to be a fantastic week. It's one of my favorite weeks in Hot Springs too. I mean, every year has a new best, a new favorite, a new precious moment that I will treasure forever of who I met or the film I saw. And you're right, it's that collective experience of sitting there in the dark theater all together. So thank you, Jen, for all your hard work to make that happen. You and the rest of the staff and all of the volunteers who spent so much time screening, and the other board members. Everybody worked so hard on this all year to get to this week. So it's truly a labor of love for so many staff, volunteer, everyone.
Yeah, it really is. But that's what makes it so rewarding, is we're all here because we love it, and then we all get to celebrate it together. So, yeah.
And if someone does, if they're a little intimidated about the festival, about what they should see, or have questions about the films or where can they go to get answers for any of that? If maybe they're not too computer savvy and they're, they have questions.
Yeah, no problem. On our website, there's our contact information. So we have our office line that Annie will answer and be able to guide you through the process. So between our email and phone number, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll help guide you through as you make your plans to attend.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank both of you very much. And thank you everyone who watched live or watches this in the future, hopefully in time before the film festival. But even if it's after the fact, I mean, there's still some very interesting information here about behind the scenes and Jen's career here. Mary, our next program in the Gallery Walk Talk series, which is more of a local artist spotlight, is going to be Wednesday, November 3rd. Are you going to reveal now the artists, or should they stay tuned?
You should stay tuned. I'm finalizing the plans for that one. Of course, we'll be talking about Gallery Walk on that one, but we have some other big events happening in Hot Springs that weekend. So I'll see if I can't get someone to share a little bit of information maybe about the Barron's Ball, which certainly highlights many of our local artists and arts advocates and supporters here in our area, and for a great cause. But as always, we'll be talking about Gallery Walk too.
All right. Well, thank you once again, and everyone else, be safe and enjoy the festival and enjoy the films, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.